Yes, this is our new counselor on the block.
Hello.
She is, I like to call her the bowl lady because of the beautiful music you make with the Tibetan bowls and stuff.
Yes.
Incredible.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
She hails from North Dakota.
Yes.
And you were in Minnesota for a while.
Yes.
Everything's cold where you are from. I mean, it's all cold, Natalia.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I know. That's good. That's good.
Yes.
Well, generally as a rule, we're trying to answer these questions and help. The problem is, now these are new questions.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I get to answer all these questions, it's on down the road and you're reading someone that's stage 5 kidney, so to speak, disease, and they don't have much time, and you're reading it 3 and 4 weeks later, and you go, oh! You know, so this is why we always advise you guys, if you think this is the way that's going to turn you around, which it will, if you can ride the bull, get a hold of the club and get going.
Yeah.
You know, because there's so much. We've seen so much, haven't we?
Well, especially with the YouTube videos and stuff, you know, there's no reason why you can't get started on your own. I mean, the knowledge that's out there, that just getting started on the kits alone will help with that.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why you need to wait on us. Yeah, we can guide you in some specifics and stuff, but you can get started.
Yeah.
And if you're in a serious situation, you need to get started.
And like yesterday, you know, I take things real seriously because the level of problems we get here is pretty intense. Mm-hmm. And so it's when you don't do everything right that your road gets real bumpy, especially when you only have a few months or weeks to live. Then that's when you want to pull out all the stops, and everything you do is to pull yourself back to this world. If you want to stay in this world, then you pull yourself back to this world. Then you have to do all that implies. And every bit of chemistry, every bit of energy that surrounds you, you want to make it good. Buy yourself flowers. Who cares? Mm-hmm. If your lover or mate doesn't buy you flowers, I'll go buy my own. You know, get yourself some around beauty and love and things like this. If you're around a family that's not supportive and you're really sick, get out. Go somewhere. Say, I just got to get away for a little while. They'll wait. And if they don't, you didn't need them anyway. But take time for yourself. Get yourself well. So many people have, you know that, and the mates are just not supportive. And I get these all the time. It's like, what do you do? It's like, well, what do you do is you do for the self first. You take care of yourself. Your mate, whoever that might be, might not. I remember I had one. This was a young woman, 4 children, major breast cancer. They did chemo and radiation. They did so much radiation on her. Her chest wall here was as hard as my wood desk. 5 kids. So I really wanted to get in and really turn her around if I could. It was a big challenge because she's pretty advanced, but a young woman, you know. And her husband didn't want me to help her at all. And she was dying. Of course, the AMA couldn't help her anymore. They already fried her enough. And it was amazing. And I've seen that through the years, that the mates, just leave them. Remember I told you that one I had in a coma, and her parents wanted me to get her because she was in a coma, but she was still hanging around. Right? The soul was still hanging around. Yeah. And we could have got that body healthy enough for that soul to come back in. Husband didn't want me to do it. I said, what do you got to lose, man? Nah. So there's a lot of pseudo-love out there. All right, this is Emily. All right. Let's see. My mom is concerned about my detox journey. See, did we just talk about that? On herbs and mainly fruits. I'm 31 years old, 5'5". So already we can say, whoa, this could possibly be a pituitary weakness, 5'5". This is a female, all right? Yep, Emily. So is it possible? I mean, just a conjecture, just to think out loud, because you guys are becoming great healers. So when you see these things, things start rolling in your head, and then when she starts telling the symptoms, they can kind of draw your lines to where she's having problems. A 5'5" female, 9.99 times out of 10's got a pituitary weakness. She only weighs 95 pounds. Before starting this journey about a year ago, I now weigh 75 pounds. And I can see why her mom is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really do.
But look at here.
I'm breastfeeding my 2-year-old son, and he's on herbs and mainly fruit too. Am I at a safe weight level? You know, no one in my world, in all my years, have ever died being too thin when all the goodies and the herbs are going in. I've never had that ever seen that ever. Because you have goodies going in, you have energetics going in. Here's what's the main problem when we see someone like this. Obvious, malabsorption. And there's no magic wand, and your mom needs to learn to hear this. There's no magic wand, Mom, to your daughter fixing herself. Matter of fact, your daughter's lymph system generally came from you, so you have to look at yourself and your own lymphatic system and see if you're not in a unsafe zone for your life. But she's also breastfeeding at 2 years old, and she's also giving her baby fruit and herbs. I would DC the breastfeeding. That's my own opinion. Way too old of a boy to start continue breastfeeding. What you're going to do is fill your son full of mucus. You're going to get his sinus and his bronchioles and his lungs full of mucus by continuing to feed him milk. At 2 years old, human babies should be well on the way to fruit and on down the road. So I think you'll be well safe to terminate that situation. My own opinion. I don't like your weight. Nope. But I think it's reflective of a situation here where you got a 5'5" female that probably has a pituitary that's down. You know the adrenals are down, kidneys, because you got malabsorption here. Mm-hmm. So that's concernful. Will I regain weight on this diet? You will when you fix the malabsorption.
Right.
But you know what? If you don't have any tumors or anything major, you can balance out your detox a little bit and go add some salads or some guacamole or things like that and bring your weight up a little bit and kind of play this game. Mm-hmm. You know, go back and forth a little bit. You don't have to just knock it out unless you have serious issues. If you have serious issues, I wouldn't even worry. I'll go straight forward. But if you don't, then you can balance out.
Mm-hmm. Your bananas and your dates in a smoothie make up a complete protein. There's your amino acids that you're looking for. The superfoods, I would definitely be on the superfoods. And a lot of the people that I've worked with that are malabsorbed like that, it takes a good 4 to 5 months on the pancreas liver combination thing to help balance them out and stop seeing undigested foods if they have them and different other things like that.
Yeah, man suffers greatly from digestion, absorption issues. But what system is involved in all these systems, see? And that's the neat thing about this, is that the mind likes to separate, right? Analyze, compare, and all that. That's why we say get out of your mind sometimes, because the mind doesn't have truth to it. It just takes a situation or a given whatever, and it analyzes, compares it, and sets it up against past experiences. It hasn't got the ability to see beyond itself. You do. But that you have to be conscious to see beyond thought and how the mind works. So if I'm detoxifying, is my son getting my toxins through breast milk? Well, you know what? I don't think so, to be honest with you. There's a certain flow of the lymph to the body and a certain flow to the blood to the body, and I doubt very seriously if you're getting any. Matter of fact, you're probably detoxifying your baby a little bit by doing raw and doing the herbs yourself. You're probably detoxifying. The last video I did yesterday, we were talking about the young man that I detoxified, and he shed his whole skin.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I told you about that one? Shed his whole skin.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. But the mother was freaked out that much. I was. I was more freaked out than the mom and dad, you know. But it grew right back real nice and everything else. But that would have made the AMA just take a curl. But they don't understand wellness and health, so take a curl. Is my son getting the proper nutrients on this diet? Thanks so much. Any comment on that?
It depends on how rounded. I mean, if you're giving him a variety of fruits and things like that, I think I'm totally think that he's doing fine with that. Yep. Check his weight. Check his, how he's doing as far as growth percentile.
It's a good question right there. You bring up a good point right there. the mother is a possible pituitary, right? She's only 5'5". Well, this means your son could have growth problems. Keep an eye on that, because society doesn't know truth real well right now, so they'll tend to blame undergrowth for raw foods, which is totally ridiculous. This is either pituitary or thymus gland.
Exactly.
Right? So that's what you want to take a look at, is the growth of your child and the height and all that as time goes on here, because we can fix all that and catch all that up.
Yep. And even if, he's 2 years old, try and get an eye photo and take a look at what he exactly is dealing with.
That's a good point right there.
The pituitary shows up very well in both the right and the left eye. Not only that, but you got an idea of what his lymph system's doing already.
Yes.
And if you can't get his eye photo, what about eye color change? Was he blue eyes and now he's going more towards the hazel and the brown and that kind of thing? That means his lymphatic system is taking that downward turn and spiral.
Even if you didn't get a photograph, you could get the magnifying glass and just play with your son and just kind of look for yourself. Get a chart.
Make a game of it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, when you think about this, and you want to think about nutrition, we were just talking about horses, and I love this analogy, but you could do this analogy across the vertebrae board. But go out to maybe the Dakotas, or go on out where you have wild stallions. You have wild herds, right? Now, you ever seen a wild stallion?
Yes.
Nobody wants to mess with a wild stallion, I guarantee you. And these guys are muscled up like nobody's, a huge major chest. How did they get that? What kind of diet were these horses on to get like that? They were on the diet their body was designed for, first of all. Do we all agree with that?
Yes.
And most of these wild herds are out on the prairie. So what do you have? Basically grass. All right. So most species have closer to a mono diet than we do by far. Well, I think we're the most omnivorish type eaters there ever were. I think we beat billy goats. I really do. I think we eat things billy goats wouldn't eat. And billy goats will eat anything. But I really do. The humans just, and they don't want to even think about what they're eating in relationship to how they're suffering. And that just floors me. That you can't relate your diet to your suffering, because the medical community is just encased, man, with this disease concept. Stupid.
Well, I think I've shared before, when I was in the hospital, I was told I could eat a diabetic diet. And I could order macaroni and cheese. I could order a cheeseburger. And I could order chocolate cake. But I could not order a glass of orange juice or grape juice.
Is that
something to do with the carbs that they do and how they look at it. So I just to do a little experiment, I went through and I ordered all the worst things that I could. And they brought me this tray. And I, of course, just had the salad off of it. But they wouldn't even let me order angel food cake, which is supposed to be lighter and airier. Yeah. They said you can order the chocolate cake. It came with this thick chocolate icing and stuff on it. And I took pictures. I took pictures of what they would let me order. As a diabetic.
I don't get that. Do you?
No.
Do you get that at all? That's all glucose. All that stuff is glucose. It's like, what? Starch on a diabetic.
Yeah.
Giving them starch. You can't make. I tell you can't make this up.
Yeah.
You cannot make this friggin' stuff up. It's amazing to me. I don't know how you survive the hospital. Remember, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
That's frightening when you think that you're going to a hospital to get well, and on the front of Consumer Reports 2 years ago, 440,000 deaths from hospital errors. And I'm sure that's only how, because I have friends in the nursing profession, of course, and we all know how that's dealt with. When a nurse maybe does a kill, how that's dealt with. So, you're allowed a kill ratio. And if you've been in the hospital, you know what I'm talking about. All right. This one. Robert was reading info on febrile seizures, and there is new evidence that they are not necessarily caused by temperatures over 102, but by the body changing temperature too quickly. Like with Tylenol given when temp hits 102. Yeah, Shannon looked that up and was looking at the new research on this. They think that a lot of these seizures are temperature gain. Some of that is factual in the sense that, of course, heat is what? Cytochemistry. Acidic. You know, and the hotter it is outside, the less oxygen in the air, and you're suffering to get air. So this is the sort of thing. There is a balance of that. So I think all it's about what has to take place in seizures. You have to have a weakness, right? Don't you have to weakness or a neurotoxicity problem? Absolutely. So when you look at seizures, a lot of times you have to look at a couple of things. Which would be the number one gland you would want to look at for seizures? I would want to look at the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands, that's neurotransmitters. So let's see what it says. Thank you for your videos. I have a question. Don't know if this is the right place to put it, but in the UK where I live, we are told that a fever in a baby can cause a brain to seizure. If a baby does have a high fever temperature, what should one do? Many thanks. Oh, look at this. Parkinson's. You know, when we detoxify infants, I've said this many times, they get up to 104, 105. It's my understanding that mutated cells die at about 107 to 8, maybe 109, and normal healthy cells about 111. But then you hear different stories, you know. I'll say this. The medical profession is unduly concerned about fevers because they are essential to the wellness of an individual. And a baby likes high heart rate as they do high temperatures. I don't know what to say about that. It's enough to say that I cool babies down to 103. Cold in the nape of the neck, sit them in cool water, whatever. But I've detoxified a lot of 2-year-olds, I mean aggressively.
A lot of fluids as far as fruit juices and things like that.
Hydration and keep them cool to 103 and let the body sweat it up. I had one mother, and she was the mother of a biker. And this biker constantly putting the shotgun up in her face and all kinds of stuff. So the baby was really mean. 2 years old, trying to break the cat's and dog's legs and all kinds of stuff. Really, really messed up. But the father was messed up. So I got the father, and he was the head of the Outlaws of Ohio at one time. That's how bad he was. He was so bad, he walked into a Hell's Angel bar. They beat the ever-loving crap out of him, put him in the hospital. When he got out, he walked right back into the same bar. It's just this guy had, you know, cojones pretty big. So I got him into a meditator, an out-of-body traveler. I mean, I turned this guy totally around on raw foods. So went after his son. And I mean, his wife set him out, the little baby out in the shade with a blanket under a tree and ran that 104, 105 temperature. And you could tell the baby was, you know, hot. But black stuff started coming out of this child. At 2 years old, black stuff started coming out of the rectum of this child. This has lasted about 2 or 3 days, you know, and then it cleared. And when it was done, this child was so sweet. And he would open the refrigerator, get him carrot sticks or a piece of fruit. He was taking college courses in his freshman year, and his teachers couldn't stand him. Couldn't stand him. He was so awake that he saw through a lot of the things they were saying and would make comments about truth, and they just couldn't take it. So it's amazing, but we were running that boy at 104, 105. So I don't know what to say. I like 103 if you cut him down to 102, but don't try to get rid of it. 99, 100 degree temperature is nothing, and I saw that in St. Joe's all the time. And mamas would bring in their babies at 99 degrees, 100 degrees. Here's a little Tylenol and an antibiotic, and off home you go. Stop the fever, stop the detox, and let that baby keep accumulating, because we'll get him later on. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, don't fear the fever.
Don't fear fevers, because you can't avoid them, and avoiding them is stupid. They just don't understand. But remember that when you see nerve rings in your eyes, your myelin sheaths are weak, so you're vulnerable to all type of spasticity, seizures. You have neurotoxicity. A lot of the vaccines have created lifetime seizures in people. So neurotoxicity can do that. Low manganese and magnesium can cause seizures. And
look at what happened to me in March.
There you go.
My magnesium levels dropped drastically, and I went into a migraine and was literally non-responsive for almost 36 hours.
You were in like a seizure, and that's the problem. Well, where do you trace that? You trace that to the adrenal steroids. There are over 50, no, not 50, well, there might be, adrenal corticosteroids. And there's a steroid for every mineral, including iron. So when you're iron deficient, don't always go to the liver, go to the adrenal glands.
Absolutely.
Go to the adrenal glands always. Yeah, and especially for neurotransmitters and strengthening the myelin sheaths. Yeah, you start strengthening and getting digestion, absorption, utilization. Get these up there, and you'll get out of seizing. Use an antispasmodic for seizures, and then go after it.
Yep.
Anything to add on that one? Nope. All right. In one of the videos, Dr. Morse says to check saliva pH in relation to the enamel of the teeth. I certainly would. The more acidic your saliva is, what do you think is going to be on the enamel of the teeth? That's the problem. It's even a problem with fruit eating sometimes when you're getting into lemons that are so acidic. And the blowback, you're also highly acidic lymphatically. See, there can be an adjustment to that in the mouth when you're not so lymphatically stagnant. But when you're lymphatically stagnant and you're acidic already, and then you add highly acidic lemons to that, remember, lemons have an alkaline ash, however. They have an alkaline ash as opposed to an acid ash. Something that can be acidic initially but have an alkaline ash, that's what you're looking for, is what's the ash of it? What's the final kick to your body from it? Is it an acidic kick or is it a base kick? And lemons have a base kick, where meats and proteins have an acid ash, and most of your grains have an acid ash. So that's what the blowback is what the ash is.
When I'm detoxing heavily to save the enamel and stuff on my teeth, I actually oil pull while I'm doing that,
You do that.
just to save the teeth area if I'm going really deep on a detox.
Now, if you did your grapes, your dark grapes, you would never have to worry about that because it's very alkaline. But using the astringent, the highly astringent fruit, like the lemons or the grapefruit, you might want to use bicarbonate or oil pull or whatever.
It does make a difference, too, how strong your teeth are in the first place.
Absolutely.
Parathyroid.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. And I heard them saying that too. These guys are getting it out there, and that you would think of parathyroid because you hit it right on the wall. You can't just look at what you're eating as part of that. You also have to look at the condition of your endocrine glands and the parathyroid. And in that one case, this lady at 5'5" would have to consider pituitary, right? In that, because you always want to consider: is the pituitary suppressing my thyroid and parathyroid, or is it weak by themselves, or are both influences there? What are the parameters save and not save before using sodium bicarbonate? Well, Patrick, I'd say basically don't let this get below 7. You'll be okay in the upper 6s, but I'd want my mouth to be 7 pH or more. When you check your saliva, you want it to be a little purple. I do.
But also, this is when I was going through school and stuff, and they brought in the whole Reams thing.
They did? They brought the Carrie Reams in the thing?
And understand that the pH of your saliva and the pH of your urine is only telling you what's going on in the whole digestive tract. It is not telling you what the pH of the tissue of the pancreas or the kidneys or any of the other areas are. So you're just testing what's in that tube. That's all you're testing. This is more systematic. This is more, a lot of people get caught up in, if these two are balanced and what they're supposed to be, then I shouldn't have a problem. Well,
no, that's not true.
That's not true.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's right on because, and here's another one to think about. In our genetic weaknesses, right? And we see it in the eye all the time. That rim around the organ or gland that shows that the lymph is already stagnant genetically. Now, Doc picked that up way back when. No one else really has picked that up. He really didn't get that completely, but he always knew that the lymphatic system, and he knew the lymph system, was stagnant in those areas. That's even more of a bump.
Yep.
So not only is the body acidic, but on top of already a more stagnant lymph in your genetically weakened areas, you got double bumps, double jeopardy. So that's why you see your tissues going down that are the most genetically weak first. You're going to suffer in your weakest areas first. There's no question about that. Your strength is what pulls you out of things. That's why when we see strong, I've got a constitution I'm going to show you guys. I don't know, this is from the class. And one of you guys, I just opened up your eyes and went, holy crap, I'm not sure I've ever seen one like this. You got to see this.
Good, bad, ugly.
I mean, totally good. So
Really?
good that I've never seen a constitution quite this strong. Oh no, you got to look at this
Wow.
one. I don't know which one it is. I'm going to find out. I'm going to show
Yeah.
you guys her eyes. It's like, are you serious? I've never seen it. The fiber, the trabecula are so tight. It's like almost looks like a solid blue eye. It's like
I can't
it's
wait to see it.
crazy. I mean, one of you guys out there has got like 200-year-old genes. I mean, Jiminy Christmas. You addressed her previous question attached a month ago. This is an update. Oh, okay. Let's see. Hi, Shannon. Hold off on this email. Brad has decided to stop the protocols and diet. He's not willing to give up toxic food and wants to stop all herbs. It's heartbreaking, but I respect his wishes. But the saddest part is he is healing. Isn't that interesting? And I know what she's going through. But thinks he's getting worse because of his symptoms and the fact that he's losing weight, as he was a bag of bones when we met. I spent countless hours educating him, giving him Detox Miracle Sourcebook, and watched several YouTube videos of Dr. Morse explaining the process. Everyone has a choice, as we say. Maybe he's just his time to leave this rock. I still believe he will come back to reality. Let's see, who is this? You know, it's funny. You can get people on the road to healing. There's that one, remember, that his wife was getting him. And he was getting himself, but he felt just super tired. Of course, his adrenals were coming back, right? Coming back to the genetics. So he was feeling tired. No big deal. Okay, go to bed. But he went to the emergency room. They checked his urine. The worst thing they could have done, because they saw he was filtering. They thought he had a massive infection, put him in ICU on antibiotics, and he never got out. His wife called me and said, I got to get my husband out of here. They're killing him. And I told her, I said, you got to get him out. They're killing him. And I said, they probably see filtration in the urine and they think he's massively infected. And they did. They killed him on antibiotics. Never left the hospital. I mean, this kind of stuff is vomitous when you realize that people trust these people every day of their of life, and putting their life in these people's hands, and they don't have a clue. They're willing to suppress fevers, not understanding the goody part of the fever. Let's see who this is. This is some beautiful soul in Indiana. Let's see, I forget. He has a lot of problems, I guess, here. But you know what? All I can say to that is, you do your best.
Yeah.
And don't ever let that deter you from being a good healer, because you're in a world of unconsciousness, and pretty primitive in a way. If you look at the human consciousness, we're still killing our own babies. I mean, ISIS and all these people, blowing them up and all this kind of stuff. What? So you got to realize you're on a warring rock, you know. And we're just because we live in a safe country right now, but look at that. Londoners thought they lived in a safe country too.
Yeah.
You know? So you have to realize that humans are at all levels. Some are mean and rapists, some are killers, some are, and you're on that kind of rock right now. And all you can do is protect yourself as much as you can and try to survive it and take care of yourself, get yourself healthier, and do what you can. You were sent here for reasons, and you have to determine what your journey is.
Well, many of us never really learned how to suffer. And
Well, that's a good point.
we need to become the warrior in our own world and understand that the deeper you dig, the more you're going to encounter. And that's just you on your way to fixing those issues that are deeper rooted that you don't see. And the more you dig, the more healing crises you're going to encounter, the more things you're going to deal with. And it's one of those things where you just have to be prepared for that. We just talked with a gentleman this morning about the emotional aspect of things, and he's had 3 people look at his eyes, became a diabetic at 20, he's had 3 people look at his eyes and say, what happened around this age bracket time. And he's going to have to encounter that and deal with that before he can actually reach that true healing in that pancreas. He's doing fantastic. He's doing fantastic. But we, a lot of times, have to go backwards.
Yeah. And that's kind of in your face, too. It's funny, but emotional issues can cause physical pain majorly. It can cause all types of shutdown of major organs and glands. And the emotions are on a totally different level than the physical world. Emotions are not physical at all. They're much greater. Your emotions are huge. And they're,
you store them in every cell in your body.
You could say that every cell has an emotional body. If you look at how the God worlds are put together, the way we teach it anyway, you will see that plants, everything have emotions and recognize people and understand. This idea that nature is stupid or unconscious or something, that's ridiculous. You ever look in the eyes of a sweet little dog or a sweet little baby cat or any animal or a nice horse or something, they're looking right back at you. Hey, how you doing? I mean, this is a great world. With just the human consciousness, it's like, whoa, just needs to clean out. I think a big issue is obviously diet.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about it because there's been so many studies, especially when I got into health, in the 70s and 60s, about meat eating and aggression. And how they prove that a meat eater tends to be much more aggressive than a non-meat eater. And you can feel it in yourself when you eat a piece of dead animal and when you don't. You can feel that, the energy difference. When you're a vegetarian, you can feel the more peacefulness to it, or the agitation and the aggressiveness of the meat.
Well, you can even feel the difference in an animal that has been killed humanely and one who has been put into terror first. Because all of those, the epinephrine, the norepinephrine, all of that is released in an animal that has been antagonized or terrorized before he's killed. And you take on that's released into the meat. And you take that on when you eat that.
That reminds me of the days where, because we were farmers, we had farms and slaughterhouses, and you could sense the fear in the animals. They knew they were going to be terminated, and you could feel that. And even the workers could feel that, and it affected them too. So it's a sad, sad thing. They used to say, if you want tender meat, kill the animal out in the field that doesn't know he's going to die. And it's a sad thing. But it's the nature of the beast, so to speak. This world is just, that way. But irregardless, you want to stay away from that for a while when you're going after your health issues. Stay away from the proteins and the aggressive acid ash foods, and you'll feel a lot better doing that. It's Susan Alton. Forma here. Should I be saying her name? I guess. Yeah. So sorry I wasn't able to make level 1. Susan, how come you didn't make level 1, honey? She broke her foot. That's a good reason. I'll wrap it up and come on down. Oh, this is Steve Arden's sister. Steve Arden, the author. I need your support with 2 issues and would love you to do a video answering these 2 issues. First, as you know, my niece has cystic fibrosis. Oh, she is almost 21 years old with cystic fibrosis. You guys know what cystic fibrosis is? You don't want to know. That's when your lungs are basically becoming fibrocystic. Hard and cystic. I mean, you basically are becoming a rock. Kind of like, what's that one I always talk about? Scleroderma. Oh, you just become so acidic that everything, the tendons and everything just start locking down, closing you off here. It's a horrible thing. Horrible way to not live.
Yeah.
And to live. So, in all cystic fibrosis, I highly recommend, if you have any idea of fighting the diet, don't. Get yourself turned around, because some of these things people fight are a lot worse than others. And this is one of the worst ones. I have been pleading with my family to eliminate dairy from her diet. She's 21, still doing dairy with cystic fibrosis. See, and I blame the AMA for this. They should have told her when they first discovered that she had extreme acidosis of the lung tissue to stop this. But they aren't convinced. In fact, my brother-in-law sent me a study that was done in Italy showing the healthy benefits of using dairy in your diet. You know what? Then that was bought and paid for. Susan, and you probably, of course, Susan goes, oh my God, of course, there's no such thing as health benefits from dairy products at all after age 1 or 2. At all. Matter of fact, drink it all you want. And when you get lung masses, don't come to me. Don't come to us. Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing healthy about milk at all, and especially if you pasteurize it. And especially if you drink a cow's milk. Look at the chemical. In fact, Shannon just now has our website up for all these studies, right?
Good.
Finally. So hopefully all our things can go up there so everybody can get them. Seeing those two cells, the difference between an amyloid cell and a normal cell, all that stuff. So you guys have some good research stuff.
Yeah.
You know, some things you just have to realize are just bullshit. Quite straight out bullshit. Lies.
The number of pus cells in an average glass of milk, I forget that, but it was very high. The number of just pus cells, number one. Number two, the fat that is in milk is usually around 7 microns, but when you homogenize it, you spin it, and it brings it down to about 3, which is able to then pass into the walls of the veins and the arteries and thicken and fatty.
Oh yeah, it's bad. There's been a million studies to show how bad it is. So you know, there's always going to be someone out there that does a study somewhere in some remote area, hidden somewhere back in the woods. They stick a label like some university on it, and then here's a study. Who paid for it? Oh, the Dairymen's Association? Oh, we'll hide that. You know, this is all crap. Mm-hmm. There's nothing healthy about milk. But if you want to keep drinking it, go right ahead, man. I know you don't, Susan. But, you know, when you have cystic fibrosis, anything dealing in lungs, sinus, head, everything, pressure, tumors, cysts, you don't even want to look at milk. Mm-hmm. Or yogurt, or kefir, or cheese, or cottage cheese, or colostrum. Mm-hmm. Mm.
I had somebody say the other day, well, if milk's so bad, then why does that cottage cheese and flaxseed thing work? And, well, first of all, what are you doing? You're taking in the flax, which is lipid. That's fat, which the body uses a buffer against acids. And you're taking in the milk, which is mucus forming, which buffers against acids to some extent. And so you've got two things that you're using to buffer, but in a very bad way in the long run.
Very bad way. The Budwick. You can use anti-inflammatory a little bit, but I'll tell you what, it'll get you. And they're touting this is good for cancer. That's a tumor grower. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some real stupid people, biochemists out there. No offense to the world, but there's some real stupid things. And when your life is in your hands, it's hard to disseminate from the stupid because you trust. Humans, basically, great hearts and everything, love to trust, but they get hurt a lot of times by that trust, you know. Mm-hmm. So just hope that enough information gets out there that anything that's of a dairy product you might want to withhold when you're dealing with systemic acidosis or you've been diagnosed allopathically with cancer or something like that. There's nothing healthy about that.
I would put out there that your milk and your meat are your worst things for cystic fibrosis. Absolutely.
Absolutely agreed. Matter of fact, in here I have the top, what do we got, the top 5 worst foods. Mm-hmm. And between dairy, I don't know which is the worst, between dairy and dead animals, they're just all animal products for the Homo sapien. If we weren't a frugivore species and we were an omnivore species, we could handle a little of that. But we're not an omnivore species. I mean, take a look at the omnivores. Dogs, hogs, chickens, bears. There's nothing human-like with all these species. We're primatish, and primatish is not an omnivore.
I don't know. My husband can be a bear in the morning.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
Just teasing, babe. I love you.
You got a good sense of humor. They cannot hear my words. Well, you know what? That awful young girl to suffer with cystic fibrosis, though. It hurts my heart to see that. Second, my best friend, Ava, recently had surgery on her neck as she was experiencing numbness and pain down her arms and into her hands. Ooh, ooh. All right, so anybody ever feels tight like that and they get numbness down the hands and stuff? What system is doing that? Couldn't be the lymphatic system, could it? Absolutely. And then from that, then you have the deterioration of the spine and either the scoliosis pull or the compression, herniation or whatever. But you always have the lymphatic stagnation first. And in a genetic weakest stance, you're going to see that in the family tree all the way there. But you can have surgery on it, but remember, if you don't fix the lymph system, the chew is still there. You know the little munchkins?
Fused.
Yeah, she had the vertebrae fused. She is now experiencing even more. Oh, yeah. You know, the problem is some of this does cause this. I see so many cases where they get the fused or they get whatever, and they have more pain than ever. And it's like, oh, that didn't work. Now, that's scary when you go to all that trouble and you have your vertebrae fused and all that, and then you're in more pain than ever, and that's what's going on here. But she never fixed the system that caused this problem, Susan. And that's what she has to do, is address the lymphatic system that caused this problem, and then let the body readjust whatever the surgery did and that sort of thing.
Right. Because the body can still heal this. We had a client who had a problem with her back, and they went in and actually cut the nerve. And for 2 weeks she didn't feel anything, and then she felt a lot. She couldn't even get out of bed.
Wow.
And after 2 weeks on the herbs and changing her diet, she was walking her dog 2 miles a day again.
Excellent.
So our bodies can do it.
Yeah,
we just have to give our body what it needs to do it.
Excellent. That's true. You know.
And hope that you haven't done so much damage first
Yeah.
in what you've tried that it doesn't take too long to get there.
Yeah.
It can still get there, but you hope it doesn't take too long to get there. My husband had spinal fusion done, and he said it's the worst choice he's ever made.
Really? Which one did he have fused?
He had his low back.
Low back L4, L5, kidney. Well, look at his eyes.
I know.
When I first saw your husband, I'm going, oh, here's big kidneys here. They're hanging almost.
You ought to see his eyes, like iridology. That whole kidney area is just, the back and the kidney area both.
Oh, crap. That's not good. Okay, so after having several of her cervical vertebrae fused, she is now experiencing even more pain down both arms and especially into her thumbs. Her surgeon did additional MRIs and said without the surgery she could have been paralyzed. So live with the pain. Well, you know what? Just put her on an opioid. Just put her on Oxycontin. Just go on Oxycontin. You'll be good. Yeah. And then she'll be one of the ones that roams the halls of hospitals. You know, when I worked at St. Joe's, some elderly person was always coming up to me asking me for help. Hey doc, I'm in pain. I'm in so much pain. Can you help me? And I knew these were, who the ER docs had gotten addicted, or the other docs had got addicted, and they're roaming the halls of the hospital trying to find a doctor and give them pain pills. And I said, oh my God, man. It's just, just a sad thing what's going on there, and to the level people don't realize. And these are older people too, not just all young people that are stuck on the opioids. Are you kidding? And then said that it revealed that she has damaged her spinal cord. I thought she did the surgery, perhaps from an accident long ago. Could have been from a surgery. Who knows? I have been speaking to her about regenerating nerves. But while she is doing all kinds of different things, acupuncture and etc., she cannot quite hear it from me. Would you please address this issue on a video and speak to regenerating nerves? I appreciate this. Love you, Susan. Well, we see nerve regeneration, but we see it under the fruit sky.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Remember, we've talked about that. In connection of that study, the brain size and the fruit. I still say God did the brain size. The fruit didn't. God did the brain size, but you need that high electrical, energetic fruit to keep it alive and awake.
Yep.
See, the man likes to turn things backwards, doesn't he? Oh, the brain size because he ate fruit. How about the brain size because God created that, and the fruit is to keep it vibrant and healthy. So that's right in our field right there, telling us that when you step down from that, we live more. This is New York City, with all the windows. We got people up there watching us recording, and don't give us the finger.
Also understand what is that saying? There is no a prophet in his own hometown. Hearing it from you, When you're closer, I remember in Indiana, and I started walking in this walk and everything, and I wanted to just talk to everyone about it. And the more I talked, the more people moved away from me.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just decided to start shutting my mouth and that kind of thing. And then I came down here. I moved down here, and now I'm working for a doctor and Dr. Morse and all this. And I start getting calls from these people who didn't want to hear it before. So it's one of those things where, and I shared this in class, keep planting the seeds. You may not be the one that actually reaps the harvest of that seed. It may take somebody else watering it. It may take somebody else harvesting it. Eventually, if the pain becomes enough and she's exhausted every other avenue, she's eventually going to come around and say, let me try that.
Yeah.
Let me try that. And so don't get discouraged about that. Just keep loving her through that process and planting the seeds as best as you can. Some of that is going to land on fertile ground, and some of it's going to get blown away to be planted by somebody else to be finally, you know, catch that and start growing.
Yeah, I mean, acupuncture, none of this is curative. You know, none of what she's going to do is curative out there. She has to get in, understand what caused the problem, understand the acid cytochemistry, understand the lymphatic system, understand that's the site of pain, and that nerve damage can be regenerated. But you've got to remove what? The cause of the problem. The cause of the problem isn't the damaged nerves. The cause of the problem is what's damaging it. What's creating the inflammation? What's creating all this? Well, there's only one answer to that. One. Acidosis, and it's on the lymph system, and that goes to her
And when they
kidneys.
fused that spine, they didn't correct the acidosis. All they did was go in and do some work in there, and now you have scar tissue that you have to fight through for those nerves to connect, as well as the inflammation that was there to begin with.
You could argue that they actually, no offense, because the surgeon's doing the best he can. I love surgeons. But they create additional acidosis by destroying the tissue. You know, they destroy a lot of tissue when you do surgery, but they have to do surgery. They're trying to help you.
Yep.
But the body can help itself, as you said, majorly. We've seen scoliosis, and to that end, neurologically speaking. And
Yep.
Doug's getting the videos put together.
Awesome.
And you've seen her.
Yeah.
But you haven't seen her. And we had, and I've told them several times about an advanced ALS case that we had. And she came to us in a wheelchair, of course, couldn't speak anymore, mumbled, you know, and couldn't. She was a singer. And she came, of course, couldn't walk, and her feet were turned and hands turned. It was what, 4 months? Well, she came the end of April. It wasn't midsummer last year or something.
Yeah.
She was walking. She wasn't running, but she was walking.
She made it from her bed to the bathroom.
And she talked, especially when we weren't there. They recorded her talking up a storm, talking on the telephone to others. She was humming and singing a little bit. Now, that is an incredible nerve regeneration. And we had an ALS case at the same place years before, worse, was pulling her back out of that. So, to show you incredible nerve regeneration. But I've said this before, Susan, I'm telling it to you and your brothers. If you've got Parkinson's, MS, Lou Gehrig's, you got any of these, you've got brain lesions, you've got adrenals down, you've got cerebellum involvement, you have to live on fruit. You've got to become a fruit nut. Because we do not know of regeneration below that. At these levels, you can get minor nerve regeneration,
Right.
yes. But when you're regenerating around plates and things like this, no. You need that high level of fruit. And you need to stay on it, and it could take you a year. Okay, you're not starving. You can eat as much fruit as you want. It's that high level of energy and chemistry needed for nerve regeneration. But there is total nerve regeneration.
And I will say this. If you've ever had a traumatic brain injury or a head injury, you especially right now need to get on a fruit diet to keep things cleaned out, because that is just a complete prelude to MS, Parkinson's, ALS, those kind of things.
Absolutely. Because remember, when you have trauma to the body, who cleans up the mess? The blood? See, the body is very careful in its design to not allow regurgitation too much. Because, and you'll see valves, check valves, all through the vascular system and the lymphatic system. because the body has certain flows that have to be. You don't want regurgitation, like in the heart valves and stuff. You don't want blowbacks. And God designed the body in such a way where you don't have those blowbacks, like cells traveling from the ovaries all the way to the lungs, making the lung have ovarian cancer. Excuse me. This is some of the insanity that you see. The body's so designed that's impossible. And if there was a system that it would have to travel through to do that, it would be the lymph system. But to have that, the lymph system's already stagnant. It can't travel. It can't even get to the lymph nodes to be terminated.
I'm going to make a video one time of just your reaction to medical science. No! Just,
I mean, some of it you have to admit. Some of it's a little out there. You know, and they expect us to believe it. And it's like, no, I don't think so.
yeah.
You know, some of it's just a little out, but people do buy into some of that stuff. And it's like, but, you know, that's why we do these, to inform the people enough to learn how the body works and go, come on, you're wrapping me. You know. So that's what I'd say, Susan. Your friend has, there's no other way. You have to remove the acidosis that created the problem. This is the lymphatic system. And if she doesn't, then she just could have additional deterioration in time because the cause has not been addressed on this one. And this young girl, 21, from cystic fibrosis, her parents, I have to tell you, to her parents, you want to forget any idea of medical intervention to help your daughter because it doesn't exist. And you better get with that now if you want to have a daughter that doesn't suffer all her life. Because cystic fibrosis will take you out in the worst kind of way there is. So to the parents, if you want to love your daughter that much, you want to help her, you learn what causes, what acids are in the body and what it does to tissue.
Yeah, and what all this mucus, this hardening mucus is doing to her lungs. And that milk is one of the biggest mucus-forming foods that you could eat.
Can't even tell you. You know, we had farms and I drank milk and I was addicted to nose drops and all of that. As soon as I learned that and got off of that, everything drained and I was good.
Well, I just read an article on milk and calcifications in the body.
Well, when you think about this, when you pasteurize anything, you're going to create, that's an acid, right? You're having an acid process to a base food. So you're, I said earlier, you're going to agglomerate the fats, you're going to agglomerate the chemistry. So your body can't, it has already been proved that the body can't even get the calcium out of cows or out of milk because of that pasteurization, the agglomeration effect.
Right.
But you're also consuming a very concentrated milk as opposed to a human milk. If you want to drink milk so bad for your daughter, give milk to your daughter, give her human milk. Don't give her some ton and a half beast.
Or go out and find some goat's milk. If you absolutely have to. That's the closest
That'd
thing.
be better.
It'd be better. But it's the pasteurization process. I mean, they did tests and they have already shown that when they started pasteurizing the milk, heart disease went up. Was it 600%? I think it was. So it's just, I mean, in that process, we always think we have to have processed things. And we don't.
What does pasteurized milk do to baby calves? It can kill them. It can give them diarrhea and kill them. There has been cases of that. So what are we doing giving our kids some big herbivore milk for? You know, we just have things turned around here. And we just, I don't know, we're so lost in space, aren't we?
Sometimes it's with a family who has a set of beliefs and ideas. You can kind of come in and say, well, you know, okay, so if someone doesn't have milk for 30 days, they won't die, right? They won't die.
Right.
So let's just do an experiment. Let's take 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, and let's see. Let's see if she responds. Because I believe this, you believe, you know, what you've been taught. So let's just see. If it helps her, fantastic. If it doesn't, okay. You know, but we'll see.
She's a lot more gentle than I am. Yet, you know, your tactic is good. And that's true. And that'd be a good tactic to the parents, too, is let your daughter try this for 4 or 5 months. What do you got to lose? What you have to win is everything. What you have to lose if your daughter can't get over this is serious stuff. I don't even have to tell you. I've dealt with cystic fibrosis most of my 45 years in my practice here at one level or another, and it's vomitous, to see the poor people suffer.
My husband just had a cousin die of cystic fibrosis a couple years ago.
Yeah, not good. There's nothing allopathically for anything. If you think there's something for the medical profession, would you send in what disease that they cure? Give me one that the medical doctors cure, would you? Even high blood pressure. Anybody cure high blood pressure?
And remember, the word remission is not cure.
Yeah, remission is not cured. All right, so I can fry a tumor and make it go down and call it in remission, just to wait till the blowback comes and then,
Actually, remission is one of the scariest words because people just go back to doing whatever they were doing before because they think they were fine.
Good point.
And
Good point.
End up creating more of an acidic condition and more of a cancer environment. An environment that cancer can
And it's a
survive.
sad thing because you hear them too on TV, and they're talking about they're almost cancer-free or they're in remission, and some of them even equated remission to cancer-free, just like you said. No, that doesn't mean anything. That just means they fried where your cancer is, where your decay is, and just shrunk it down. Mm-hmm. And the blowback's coming. You can't expect a cure by taking toxic chemicals, using radiation which destroys cells. Remember, Sloan Kettering turned down radiation therapy years ago, said it damaged tissue too much. Now you can get as much radiation as you can pay for at Sloan. Nobody has any ethics out there anymore. Wow, this is a big one. I'm becoming quite obsessed with these revelations contained in the Dr. Morse YouTube videos. I love you guys. You guys are good. Sorry about that. It all makes so much sense, especially the fruit diet. The lights are on, and it's not going to be possible to turn them off now that they're on. Good. You want your lights on, don't you? I mean, it's time humans turn their lights on, don't you think? Yeah, I love that. But so far, so good.
Yeah.
My primary question is associated with muscle building. Oh, wow. My entire life. You mean like our buddy Antoine?
Shout out to Antoine.
Hey, man, he's our friend, and he's such a peach.
Yes.
The thing that got me about him is his incredible smile.
Yeah.
He's got a smile that you don't need light.
Yeah.
He lights up the room with his smile.
And he has a spirit that is just, I sat down with him in January, and it's just a spirit that just
incredible
lights
guy
up.
here. And he is an educator. He trains bodybuilders, Mr. Olympians and stuff, and he gets the understanding of proteins and the damage to the kidneys. Excellent. My entire life I've struggled with putting on weight and keeping it. All right, so here the first thing, see, I have a very thin skeletal structure, but we could also add probably malabsorption. Probably malabsorption. You should be surprised, but most of us are malabsorbed at one level or another, because most of us have lymphatic stagnation in the human body. Structure and high metabolism. I mean, could be a hyperthyroid case too. Could be a
I'd love to see the eyes on this one.
Yes. Yeah, because if it's a high metabolism, that's suggestive of a little rapid thyroid. Thyroid controls the rate of your metabolism. So they used to dub it slow or fast oxidizer, because oxidation occurs through metabolism and the rate of that, as does body temperature, by the way. And the only weight I've been able to put on is in the form of muscle through weightlifting. I could eat 100 Twinkies and not gain fat. Damn! A lot of people like to have that, wouldn't it? I've always said, if you're going to give me any weakness at all, give me hyperthyroidism. Then I could have 10 meals a day. Actually, if I'd have had this problem when I was exclusively on oranges, I would have consumed probably 20 bushel baskets a day. Yeah. I was probably consuming at least 1.5 bushel baskets a day. So that's a lot of oranges.
Yeah.
And you can imagine. Because of this, I've followed a very high protein, high calorie diet for the past decade, including a ton of milk and whey protein powders. Ouch. I don't have any serious ailments, but I'm 35 years old now and wanting to get a hold of my health now before I get older. I would, my friend, because you can't do this level, and it could be good genes and things, but you can't do this level of protein and dairy products without it blowing back on you someday. And so you want to be real careful. The protein is really what damages the kidneys and the GI tract. There's been so many studies on the colon and colon cancer relationship to high protein diets. But we can tell you hands down it's the kidneys bad. Matter of fact, I just read one where a lady went on a paleo diet and her left kidney just took a dump on her. Let me see. After tuning into Dr. Morse's YouTube videos and the obvious truths promoted within, I just can't bring myself to poison my body any longer. The more I flood my diet with fruits, I find the bad stuff simply falls away out of my diet. No more milk, no more protein powders, no problem. Well, I've got a muscle blend that I designed for and Mr. Olympia and stuff like that, and so highly recommend it.
Yes.
And it's all greens, of course. And I'm an alfalfa freak in the sense that we raise horses, and of course you know what happens with alfalfa and horses. If horses were out in the wild on alfalfa and on the prairie, and they had alfalfa to eat on the prairie, these guys would be mammoths, woolly mammoths.
Yes.
Because whenever you want to build muscle on a horse, everyone knows you don't get them proteins. You go to alfalfa, and the horse gets incredibly strong. So. That's what I do. I do alfalfa juiced powdered. And so I have a lot of strengthening power in that formula. So we recommend that sort of thing, the superfood blends.
Yep.
But you also have to fix malabsorption. And there's a time, between when we start working on you and getting that lymph moving and your thinness and all this, there's a time in there that you could get skinny.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to stop from doing that and fixing the problem simultaneously because you have to hydrate and get that lymph moving. This is why the GI broom, full of strong astringents. If I can help astringe that mucosic wall and help to pull, maybe interstitially at all, and open that up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's why we do these things, is try to get you opened up as quick as possible. Because we also have to think about our herbs getting into you as well. And if you're highly malabsorbed, we have a problem getting our herbs into you as well to fix some of the problems. So,
You need it?
I got it. And that's a problem too.
If you're building muscle and you're using an inferior food source for our human body, as we detox, our body is going to get rid of that muscle, and so
that's a good point right there.
Yeah, it's false or it's not good solid flesh, and so our body is going to get rid of it. So you know that you're going to get thin if you've built muscle on an inferior protein, and the great part of that is that once you're detoxified, now you can really bring back. On a good food source, you can build solid muscle.
Well, for the bodybuilders out there too, and this is part of our dear friend's problem, is not wanting to lose too much muscle on the road to getting well. And I get that. So you can play that game a little bit. Get 100% raw, power with the super greens, power up with salads and stuff, and work it that way. You might have a little bump, but you might be able to get on the other side of that, but still work it. That's what Antlin's trying to do. He's trying to work that so he doesn't lose what he's worked all his life for. Because just like you said, when you use these type of proteins, they're inferior proteins, no matter how you think, and they stiffen you as well. See, they create acidosis, and that's what you don't want as a bodybuilder, because you want to remain flexible but strong. If you've ever seen the difference between meat muscles, because I did the Joe Wilder program years ago, and I can just tell you the difference between a high raw diet versus a Joe Wilder high protein diet is night and day, and the power you feel in your muscles, the power you feel in your body, and the health you feel. The other, you just feel acidic. You do. And
if you've ever saw them walk, take just Arnold Schwarzenegger for instance, and how they move like this. They're very, very stiff. They're not flowing and graceful. And
Exactly.
There is a difference.
Exactly. But the strength and the flexibility will far exceed any inferior protein, like from meat sources or whey sources or things like this.
And there's a lot of good herbs that help to build muscle.
Yeah.
There really are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, nature has so many good things to help build you up if you want to do that. Recommend getting the kidneys to filter first, getting everything filtering so that when you're pumping and you're building up, you are creating acids. Remember that. You're creating a lot more acids when you're increasing activity.
Yep.
Question, are you removing what you're creating?
Exactly.
Because if you're not removing those acids, then you're adding to your acid bank, and pretty soon, particularly with bodybuilders and things, the classic RA, rheumatoid arthritis, and it's not fun. We've had them in here major, 26, 28-inch arms, major 40-some, just major chest, joints out to here, wrists gone, sad stuff.
Yeah.
And then, imagine if you're a bodybuilder. No one told you you had a parathyroid weakness.
Ooh.
You're pumping the proteins. In response, the body's sucking more calcium out of you. You're losing your happiness from that. And then you blow your rectum or blow a hernia or an aneurysm somewhere.
I know a young man who was building a lot of muscle, and he was taking in a lot of protein powders. And he was creating a lot of muscle and weak muscle, and at one point the muscle tore itself loose, and he couldn't even move his arms after that. So
there was a Inside Edition, or one of them had years ago, featured a guy like that, and he had one of the biggest arms. I can't remember how many inches he was. I'm sure he was close to 28 or 30 or something. It's hanging down here now, and that's a good point. You think they're strong, but they're not.
Yeah.
And they're acidic muscles. And that's deterioration. And like I said, you can tear, so many things. So, and you don't want to, just for the sake of having a body like that, let's put it that way, to lose your health for the rest of your life. You don't want that. It's not worth it.
right.
You want to find your own joy and happiness within you and find out, why do you want to body build like that?
Yeah.
What's your end goal? And also tap into yourself, so you're happy with yourself, so you're doing it for yourself and no one else. Exactly. You don't want to body build for anybody but yourself. And then you have to ask yourself, what are you trying to prove to yourself? So we have a lot to teach these different athletic modules, because the level that they can attain and still be well doing it. Look at long distance runners.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Sprinters. Anybody that gets on the raw and gets all these obstructions to the flow of energy removed, holy crap, they're going to be setting new records way out there. I love it.
Yeah.
So you just take the time and get your body well, get your kidneys filtering, get your adrenals up so you have plenty of neurotransmitters, and get into the green side of amino, get into the amino acid side instead of the protein side of life.
Remember, that's your ultimate goal anyway.
Yeah, so it is. Where are we at here? When I looked online for bodybuilders who are vegan, there are quite a few, but all of them I've found are still heavy into the vegetable side of it, not the fruit side. I don't know what to say about that, because the fruit side is going to be the most difficult side, I would think, in terms of bodybuilding. But I would say that the 60 banana a day guy would probably come into focus then.
Yes.
You'd really want to hit the bananas, because they have a lot more amino acid structures. What else? More of your structured fruit.
Yeah.
But you'd have to eat a ton of it. There's no question about it. But when you look at a orangutan, they're exclusively frugivores. Look how big they get.
And they're strong.
And they're unbelievably strong, the orangutans. And they're in a place where they can be frugivores. And so you look at that and you go, wow. And I've looked at their muscles, and they're not real big, stacky, but they can rip a human apart like that. It's like, damn! I mean, you want to finish reading that for me? I got it.
They rely heavily on beans, tofu, oats, rice, etc. for protein and starch carbs,
Still the wrong kind.
which they claim are critical for building muscle. And there, again, I would have to disagree with all of those, because, even some of your alkaline beans, you cook them, and that tends to acidify them in doing so. Again, some of those greens, or adding in the alfalfa, like Robert's talked about, There's lots of herbs that you can take to help build muscle. There's the deer antler, there's the pine pollen, there's a lot of different things that you can do. Understand that these things, well, when you look at them, they're going to talk a lot about testosterone and things like that. Well, the reason that you've got weak testosterone in the first place is because of your adrenals. And so all these herbs actually approach the adrenals and strengthen the adrenals, and you see that kickback on the testosterone side that helps to build those. And so it's actually the adrenals that you want to go after to make sure your levels are balanced and even, so that you can even add and build what you need to do on that. Again, I would go more for your bananas and your dates and your some of those things that to build on.
Yeah. Orangutan doesn't look so but powerful.
Or a gorilla.
Or a gorilla even. But nobody messes with those guys. A lion has to be crazy to mess with a gorilla.
Obviously, as Dr. Morse teaches, we should stop being so worried about how much protein we're consuming for the average person. However, what about for bodybuilding? And there again, obviously, your caloric intake, and nobody really cares about talking calories when you're in a detox mode, but when you're talking bodybuilding, your calorie intake has to exceed what you're burning. It just absolutely does, in order to get that physique that you're looking for. And so you are going to have to consume more than the average person would to build that.
But again, that's where the greens and alfalfa and stuff come in, and you can build some nice fine muscles on that.
Yep.
Still keep your kidneys and things like that.
I'm really anxious. Robert had me take home, it was the new muscle, it was the energy, and it was the Superfood 3.
Oh yeah, did you try those?
And oh my word, I did a combination of the
Did
three
you?
for about 2 weeks, and let me tell you, it was a good thing.
That's cool, because I love our new power one.
Yeah.
That's to replace people that are doing Red Bull and all this kind of stuff. Yep. And that should really hit you good, because I think I have 50-60% raw alfalfa juice.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you,
it was how I got through our
school. That's a blow, boy. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Woo!
To clarify, I'm not trying to be one of those professional shredded muscle freak bodybuilders, rather just trying to build and maintain a reasonable amount of lean muscle. For me, just putting on reasonable amounts of muscle is still a major challenge. Again, that goes back to the malabsorption.
It does go to the malabsorption, and possibly to a little hyperthyroidism. So you might, in detoxing, it'll straighten up the hyperthyroidism.
When you eat and consume and you're malabsorbed, remember you've got those little villi that absorb everything into the bloodstream. And if those are, even through several years of just bread eating and caking things on in the gut, if those are hindered in any way, you're not going to totally get in all the nutrients that you could in a complete meal that you're eating. So some of that's going to be hindered. Plus, if you do have some hyperthyroidism, that's going to burn. You're going to burn it quicker than what you're even absorbing it and utilizing it. Remember, you have to absorb and utilize.
Well, look at the plaque people get on the wall. Here's another thing.
I'd be really curious to look at this person's eyes.
Yeah, really. You could be interesting. And another thing is, you could use avocados. You could use your fruit veggies and stay still good within the fruit kingdom.
Yeah.
There was a fruitarian society back in 1970 in Washington, D.C., and I just had to contact them, and I wondered what they thought was all fruit. And they're saying that anything that a plant or tree bears is considered a fruit in their thoughts. And I thought, well, that's interesting that a nut could be considered a fruit to a certain extent, but too much protein. But what about cucumbers, avocados,
Tomatoes.
Coconut.
coconuts?
Coconut is amazing for building.
There you go.
And the water from that maintains the electrolytes, which a lot of times with your building up lactic acid and things like that, you can kind of throw off your electrolytes.
Well, then you could argue you have the lipids right there then for the extra acid that you're creating. So, I mean, you could say that's almost a perfect food in that sense.
Yep. Where am I? The minute I stop hitting the gym regularly, I begin shedding muscle. Well, that goes back to atrophy and poor muscle.
Exactly what you said.
Yep. My parents and family before them have all been very skinny. So this is just a genetic thing that you're going back to. To give you a better idea, I'm 6 feet tall, and if I don't lift weights and consume a ton of calories, I start shrinking down to about 145 pounds.
Wow. Yeah, malabsorbed. No, that's malabsorption. I'm going to say that probably over hyperthyroidism, but you have to check. Check your basal temperatures, what's your heart rate, see if all these things are a little hyperextended.
In the right eye, looking at roughly about the 230-ish area. In the left eye, you're going to look at about the, before the 10, about the 930. And just see if you don't have a weakness in that area.
Yep. The thyroids. And then look at the parathyroids, too, which is close right up against that bowel wall. And if you look at your eye, you'll see your intestinal wall about, a half inch or so outside of the pupil. See if you can see a rim around that wall. If you can really see a highly defined bowel wall, malabsorption.
Yeah. About 8 years ago, in my late 20s, I managed to achieve my ideal weight. However, at this time, I was taking a lot of toxic workout supplements like creatine that I don't ever want to take again. I realize that the aminos in fruit are worth much more net value to the body than consuming full proteins, which the body has to break down into aminos for utilization.
See, that's the thing. When you realize that all the protein you're consuming has to go through a process of first hydrochloric acid down around 2 pH, then you're releasing pepsin, then you're moving all of this highly acid sludge to get to the peptides, to break it to the peptides and polypeptides. You have to move it into the the duodenum. From that point, you've got to the body has to get the pH from 2 all the way up to about 8. And that's why you have bicarbonate in the bile duct. And that's so chymotrypsin can finish with to the amino acid stages, the polypeptides, and then also you've got then all your tylan, amylase, and all your carbohydrate breakdowns. And they need to be in an alkaline slurry to work.
Plus, I'm going through all the foods that he consumes here and stuff. As you balance the body, you will not need to consume near as much as you clean it, as you create that environment. You're not going to need to eat and consume near as much to maintain. You're having to do that now because you're not absorbing and utilizing all the nutrients that you're taking in. Again, going back to malabsorption, one of the things I found is having to be on the pancreas formula for quite a bit to even get that started and balancing that out, but pairing that up with the GI broom and the upper circulation and even the lower circulation at times to get that circulation going and clean off that bowel wall and start eliminating that malabsorption.
Yeah, if you don't have any tumors or anything, we highly recommend go after blood circulation as well, because helping helping blood flow into tissue is just nothing but good, because it does merge with interstitial fluid a little bit. And therefore, it's all good. Whenever you can move blood into tissue more aggressively and get lymph hydrated and moving the other way, excellent.
Are there any studies that you know that compare the net value for human body utilization? Again, over and over again, we're just this goes back to about the malabsorption is what you're dealing with. And as you start to clean that out, and I've worked with a lot of people to help them actually gain weight on a fruit diet. So I'd be more than happy to talk with you also if you want to do that.
Well, there's our buddy, Alan. And I don't know if I have his picture here, but we put him on a lot of videos. And he's a bodybuilder. He got real skinny on the fruit and detoxing. And on the same diet, he made the corner and turned around, and now he's got his muscles back. But he does
Ian Myers.
Yeah. Yeah, you go, Ian Myers. And he does do he does greens, I think, and things like that. But he's a good-looking dude, boy. He's got a nice body for a raw foodist and just really nice. Yeah. So he's a good example to what a man can look like and just really good-looking, too.
Yeah.
So
clean yourself. Get yourself cleaned out. Don't quite worry about the weight right now. Get yourself cleaned out. Deal with the malabsorption, and you're going to find it very easy to start putting some of that back on and working and pumping that up, but you're also going to have the elimination of the kidney side of it so that lactic acid doesn't build up too much.
See, I don't think all three of us could say that enough. Go after your problems first, fix it, and then go for your building you'll have a much more pleasurable journey. You'll have multiple experiences in detox. You'll fix your genetic weaknesses. You'll be able to fix it so when you build your acids, your lactic acids and stuff, they'll be able to be removed. You will be more flexible, more powerful, more awake. Don't forget that one. More awake with this. So this win, 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 win.
Yep.
Plus, your body won't be so stinky. You know what it's like to be a high protein consumer, particularly of the animal products and milk? Stinky. You know, people's underarm, you can smell humans.
Yeah.
See, and you won't stink on a raw food diet.
Yeah.
That's another thing people don't think about. The stinky. Oh. Janelle?
Yep, Janelle.
My question is about the spleen. Do we have a spleen? Sometimes I wonder. Sometimes.
Let me spleen it to you.
Oh, you spleen it to me? You know, I don't know why you're not a comedian, because you remember that guy that has a bottle of whiskey. I mean, he's one of the.
Ron White.
Yeah, he's got a bottle of scotch in one hand, a big stogie in another, and it's like, and you can come right out with them. I tell you, it's amazing. Okay, can you spleen it to me? I had mine removed. Look, at 13, as in now 53. Well, at least she's lived that long without it. I have had hard lymph nodes in my neck. Oh no. When I went to Doc 4 years ago, they removed a few for biopsy. You got a hard lymph node on your neck. Let me just remove it and see what's wrong with it. What could make it hard? I mean, that sort of thinking. And I said that about Dr. Poe one time. They had Dr. Brenda, and which was your name, right? And this Dr. Brenda's a veterinarian, and this guy brought in a pit bull that was sick, and the lymph node on his neck was real swollen. She said, "Just let me cut this out and see what was wrong with it." It's a lymph node. There's only one thing or two things a lymph node does. I mean, and so now the dog doesn't have a lymph node in the neck, which is going to affect the ear, affect something. It's like, are you serious? These guys play like lymph nodes like they're marble tosses or something. And it's like, no, they're septic tanks. You can't remove a septic tank from your house. You can't do it without compromising tissue.
Exactly.
The guys it's just unbelievable. Well, the spleen is how the blood cleans itself lymphatically. That's also how it refurbishes red blood cells. It's where the platelets and the white blood cells kind of are dispersed in the blood, things like that. And so it's a big immunity thing too. So I'll say that you in particular then want to have good kidneys.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Well, that's like taking a team of 3 people and removing part of that team and expecting that group to do the same amount of work with less. I mean, that's putting stress on the appendix, that's putting stress on the kidneys, that's putting stress on the thymus.
Yeah. Get this, I have been on SSRIs for 30 years and on antibiotics and Accutane for acne. Holy moly. This is unbelievable. Now I have been eating a 90-10 diet, mostly fruit. Good woman. I started out on 2 of your kidney formulas. I'm surprised that she hadn't had any major detox symptoms.
Yeah.
When you've been on this kind of drugs and stuff all these years and you go into detox, I'm amazed you don't have any radical symptoms on that, dear one. Formula adrenal and lymphatic 1 and 5. Ooh, she went on lymphatic 5. Holy butt kicker. Thyroid. My kidneys are finally filtering.
Excellent.
Excellent. What should I take for no spleen and which formulas for parathyroid? Thanks so much. See, these people get the parathyroid. Is that cool?
One thing that I would add in there is I would do a little bit of liver to help with the cleansing of all the chemicals from all of this. Make sure that liver is working well.
That's another good thought right there.
And to be honest with you, I'd take the spleen anyway. Just because you don't have a spleen doesn't mean that's not going to help you with in other areas lymphatically.
See, you're thinking like I'm thinking. You might have some stem cells or something there that you can rebuild that spleen. So if you get 100% raw, you know, we see tissue rebuild constantly here.
Yeah.
So if you get 100% raw, Baby, you never know. And I would take that spleen formula. You just never know. You could inspire the regrowth of tissue.
It's not going to hurt anything. It's not like going to go in your body and wait, there's no spleen.
Yeah,
What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Yeah, let's tear up some things. No, I started, let me see. Yeah. All right, so parathyroid. I think any of the endocrine gland formulas will help the parathyroid because there's not a lot in herbology written on the parathyroid, and you know what they told you in naturopathic school. And even in allopathy, when it comes to the parathyroid, unless you're a really good MD, you don't think much about it. Once in a while I'll see an MD that thinks about PTH and things like that, you know, but a lot of times they don't give much thought to the parathyroid.
And what about these doctors that radiate the thyroid? What's it doing to the surrounding areas, and especially those parathyroids that are right behind the thyroid?
No, everything gets fried. You know, that's a sad thing about all that, is that we're still at that level of thinking. Because I'll be quite frank to you, if you're at a level that we can't get you, you're in deep trouble. And there's no medical doctor on this planet that can get you that we can't. There's no way in hell. Unless they remove everything out of you, you know, and then you're just hanging on.
As they say, the mud puddles over your galoshes.
Yeah. I'm telling you. But the parathyroid, we use a 50 milligram granular we had made for us in New Zealand, and it's I only use it for about a month with the pituitary formula. Now this guy's, that's not the same guy, but the 6 foot guy, you might consider the reverse problem, you know.
The bones and connective tissue would be a very good one to take for that.
It would be. You know,
lots of berries.
Let's think about that guy that just asked the question, the bodybuilder. And let's say that bodybuilder has a parathyroid weakness, right? We did touch a little bit about it, but this is a big problem when you're bringing in acid ash foods, that's acid forming foods, with that problem. Because it's just the blowback from acids. Yeah. So you've got to think about that, the loss of calcium. And we did a video with Pat here on the calcium, kind of like bicarbonate is a buffering system, and how the calcium is a buffering system as well. And this one medical doctor was laughing at that when we were saying that, and yet there's a big study showing it from famous universities, and we were reading that study to show them. So imagine the more acidic you are, you're losing calcium to that, and your parathyroid won't allow you to put it back no matter as healthy as you're eating. You could really tear some things. You could really tear some things. Connective tissue, tendons, you could really tear some things. So I recommend the parathyroid glandular, I do. And I recommend 2, because we have 4 parathyroid, I recommend 2 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you're short or tall, I recommend the pituitary herbal formula with it. And then you could repeat that. That's for a month, and then go a couple months and repeat it one more time or something. But
or switch to that bones and connective with the. Remember,
and you can even add it when you're doing that. You can even add it when you're doing that. Kick it up a whole nother notch. We do.
I've had a number of clients that have used the parathyroid glandular and then stopped and saw all their symptoms start to come back. The bruising, the other things.
Really?
Even on the bones and connective tissue alone. Now, I'm not saying that eventually you don't want to get to the point where you're strong enough that you can just do the bones and connective, which is an herbal formula, but for a while they've paired them and done really good.
Yeah. You know, I'm trying to get a formula here made. I was going to give it to Megan, but I wanted about 50 milligrams of, let's say, thyroid, 75 of parathyroid, and maybe 50 or 25 of pituitary.
And what if you threw in a little adrenal? Because to be honest with you, you can't have a weak thyroid without a weak adrenal.
I could throw a little bit of an adrenal in there as well. That would make a really nice formula, don't you think?
Yep.
I do. Especially for those with these problems, because the thyroid is calcitonin, so you want that to come up with the parathyroid. And then when you have the pituitary, which is so many people do, I'm doing these iris analysis now from the class, and I'm just constantly talking. That's why I'm just wore out with my voice. But boy, I'm seeing the pituitary a lot with that parathyroid hookup. And a good glandular formula like that temporarily would be the cat's meow, I would think, to help enhance the relationship.
And with all the issues that you've seen adrenally, you know that that's not going to hurt.
Right. No, not going to hurt. So I'll do that with all 4 of those things in there. Pop them up there a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you've taken a lot of toxicity. Here's another problem that you've done. You've killed a lot of your bacteria. And, of course, that's only medical thinking. And the problem is we see people that have been on long-term antibiotics, the outcome is not good. You know, it's all these chronic arthritises and stuff, lupus and Lyme's. All of those people are a product of antibiotic use early on. And it just kills your bacteria, so you have no way of breaking down systemic acids. Your bacteria is vital to breaking down systemic acids. Medical doctors are just so way out there in left field on their thinking. It's staggeringly ridiculous. It's hard to fathom it when you really look at it.
Plus you're asking about a parathyroid formula, so I'm assuming there's some parathyroid stuff going on there. And when you think about it, calcium or sulfur, which is major with antibiotics, is antagonistic to calcium. So you've got a lot of that going on that has been kind of exacerbating the situation for years.
Yeah. Something else here that someone recently said to me is that research has shown where B12 supplements can bring down the parathyroid gland.
If you're taking too much.
Taking too much can actually bring down the parathyroid. So you see, I don't like messing with Mother Nature, so to speak. You wrap your arms around Mother Nature, she'll bring you into a homeostatic balance as much as that you can get that, and get the health of the body back. But if you treat and you're listening to medical or even naturopaths dealing in these deficiencies and things, you're going to run yourself into the ground.
Right.
It took me a few years to get rid of that thinking because, you know, as a naturopath, you're taught deficiencies as opposed to diseases.
Yeah.
So. This is Patricia. This is concerning starting the Fab 4 kit after a complete thyroid removal. Oh, my God. I am so worried about the effects after the removal and being on a medication for the rest of my life, poor thing. I tell you what, it is due to large nodules that are causing symptoms. All right, so what system creates nodules? And there's only one. Not hard, is it? So, again, you've done nothing to fix the lymphatic system. And it's like this lady with hard nodules on the neck. You wake up with hard nodules on your neck. Let me suggest a program for you. 40 days grapes. Start grapes and give it to me right now. You do not want to keep hard tumors on your neck. I saw a guy the other day in the grocery store with his neck cut like this. He only had this much space left. That's what they'll do to you. How do you compare that with a few months of detox, and you're going to go on fruits, may do a few dry fasts, you're going to take a few herbs, you're going to get your system healthy, and you're going to bitch all the way as opposed to having this much neck left. It's not pretty. It's not pretty, and it's not good. So when you get hardened lymph nodes and tumors, that's even worse. The harder, the worse it is. Yeah. And you want to get this thing loosened up and get your body moving. And when you wake up to tumors, you want to get your butt on a great fast now. I'm just telling you, don't play around. Yeah. Because what we see is not fun here, guys. It's not fun. Sometimes you see us all break down a little once in a while because it's horrible. It's just horrible. You get a good sense about that reading these things.
And these nodules, hardened, causing symptoms, a lot of times obstructing swallowing or that kind of thing. First of all, you're dealing with an area that deals with calcium. And acid and calcium hardens, it fuses, it creates that. And so when that's hard, it's going to take a while. You're going to have probably a lot longer than some just trying to break down these calcified nodules within the thyroid area.
But your kids still can do it.
Absolutely. So this isn't something that 2 months later, it's all going to be gone. I'm not going to, if miraculously that happens, fantastic. But just be prepared. This is a calcified area that you have to go in and break down. And if 40 days of grapes doesn't get it,
do another
take a little bit of break and then do another one.
Yep. Because the rest of your life you'll be so happy. Now the rest of this lady's life, she has to worry about the thyroid. Now you have 2 thyroids. Did they remove both of them? You know, and it's like, so you know you have a major lymphatic problem. You have to go after that. So whatever you do, you go after your lymphatic system first. You want to fix why you had this problem. You've not fixed it. You've only removed the symptom. Now, as we said earlier, a little thyroid glandular, because we did, and I have done this. I had a lady with her thyroid removed, and I helped her rebuild the whole thing on the glandular. And she was 100% raw for me.
She had a little bit of the thyroid left.
She had a little bit of the thyroid. They left a little bit there, just a little bit. And it was enough to get the thyroid to grow back. So there's always hope in that way. Because living without the thyroid gland is not a fun, thyroid glands is not fun. It is just not fun.
Right.
Depressions, I mean, because sure they affected the parent. Another question, did they remove her parathyroids when they removed her thyroid? Now this lady's going to be fighting her bones, she's going to be fighting depression, she's going to be fighting, and that would be, when you've had your thyroid and parathyroids removed, I wouldn't eat any acid-forming foods. I would have myself a raw foodist, and you'll stay pretty well.
Yeah.
If you start eating proteins and stuff, it ain't going to be fun what you're going to experience.
Remember, this is the seat of a lot of our emotions, and so you're probably going to have to fight the emotion of being, craving that food and craving this and craving that.
Unhappiness.
But go and allow those emotions to process, just like you process your food. You have to process your emotions. Allow those to process. Get free of the food addiction, whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah, and here's another thing with this lady. Her fear is toward us as opposed to toward her medical community. If you fear anything, I suggest you fear the removal of your thyroid gland as opposed to fearing taking a few herbs and detoxifying. Her question is, will these herbs interfere with the kind of medication I will be on? Question is, Patricia, the way you state this, you're stating it like you haven't had your thyroid removed yet.
No, she had the right side removed 2 years ago, and now she has to have the left lobe removed due to large nodules that are causing symptoms.
I see. You know what, honey? I would hit the grape diet and put that surgery off and see if you can't get these nodes out sooner than later. You got to work on your GI tract aggressively, get your kidneys to filter. That's not difficult. And see if you can't get those nodes down and save your thyroid and maybe regrow your other one. That would be my take first off. But that's a lymphatic system you have to deal with. If you remove this other thyroid, you still have not fixed the problem. Now your whole throat is open for tumors and everything else, honey. So I would rethink my fear.
Yeah.
When you detox, it'll detox some of the medication out, but so what? You want to fix your problem. You want to fix your problem and not rely on Synthroid or something like that, which is nothing because your thyroids produce calcitonin as well, and they never give you calcitonin. So you're messing up with your osteoclast and blast. So you're messing with your bones in all kinds of ways. So no one's ever happy with thyroids and parathyroids removed. Save it. Now, hopefully we'll get to her in time enough that she'll think about that. But if not, people got to want to save things instead of, cutting things out isn't the magic elixir. And I think we've read enough to show you that spinal fusion isn't the answer either.
Yeah.
We love you guys, and I'm proud of these guys. They are on the ball. These, and they'll write and they say, this is a parathyroid, right? And I go, right.
Yep.
And it's like, nobody in the medical community talks like this. These guys are going to dance around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I love you guys so much. You've done so good.
Absolutely.
So, till the next time.
Very proud of you.
Very proud. Off and upward. Onward and upward.
Onward and upward and on to new adventures.
That's what I say. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.